Okay, we're back on the record in cause number 330050, case and style of State of Texas versus Janika Michelle Benjamin. Ms. Benjamin has already been sworn in, and prior to the recess, Ms. Benjamin was read information and she pled guilty to that information. Now, Ms. Benjamin, I have before me, we have State's Exhibit 1, which is a misdemeanor plea admonishment. She acknowledged that she recognized State's Exhibit number 1. She also acknowledged that her initials was on page 2 of this document on the line next to box 6, guilty. And she also acknowledged that these are her initials on the line under the paragraph that is titled Discovery Admonishment, and which reads, I do not request discovery of the evidence, and I waive my right to request discovery in this case and choose to enter a plea of guilty or no contest. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, Ms. Benjamin, are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes.
All right. Now, Ms. Benjamin, also on page 3 of the same document, there is a signature above the line that's titled Defendant. Is that your signature?
Yes.
And Ms. Benjamin, the second document that I have here is titled to Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. Ms. Benjamin, do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Is this your signature above the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes.
There are 2 boxes that's checked at the top of this document. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that? The second box states that you're waiving, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, now, Ms. Benjamin, prior to signing and initialing these documents that I've just mentioned, did you have an opportunity to review the documents?
Yes.
And did you review the documents?
Yes.
And did you understand what you reviewed?
Yes.
Now, is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Benjamin, now state, you like to offer any evidence?
Yes, Your Honor, the state's reached an agreement in this case.
You can offer State's Exhibit number 1?
Oh, yes, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Ms. Benjamin, the state is offering State's Exhibit number 1. Aware that this is a Class B misdemeanor and that you're aware of this range of punishment, which is confinement in jail for a term not to exceed 180 days, that a fine not to exceed $2,000 or both such fine and confinement. That's the range of punishment for a Class B misdemeanor. It also states that you're aware that you had a right to have an attorney. Is that correct? And also it has a paragraph that's titled citizenship, which means that if you was not a U.S. citizen, you could be deported out of the country, or you could be denied naturalization under federal law if you was trying to become a citizen, or you can be excluded from coming into the country if you was not a citizen trying to come in the country. Do you understand that? Also, it states that this is a plea bargain case, and the court is not limited or bound to follow that plea bargain agreement. And if the court does not follow your plea bargain agreement, you'll be entitled to withdraw or take back your plea. Do you understand that? Okay. You have a plea bargain agreement with the state. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the court is not bound to follow it. If the court does not follow that plea bargain agreement, for example, as I say, whatever your plea bargain is, the court say, I'm the court. And so the court says, I'm not going to follow that agreement. You'll be entitled to withdraw or take back your plea. And that says you don't have to go forward. Do you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Now, also on the second page of this document that you read, it has deferred adjudication, which is a form of probation, which means that if you successfully complete the probation, you won't have a conviction on your record. Do you understand that? And if you violate the terms and conditions of probation, and also you may qualify for what is called a non-disclosure, which means that they cannot disclose, we cannot disclose the fact that you are on deferred adjudication to the general public. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
And if you violate the terms and conditions of your probation, the state can file a motion to revoke your probation. And if the court finds that you have violated your probation, if your probation is revoked, the court can revoke your probation. And if your probation is revoked, and if you are given a conviction, then that means you cannot, you'll have a conviction on your record and you cannot apply for a non-disclosure. Do you understand that? All right. Now, also in this document, it states that you have a right, you realize you have a right to have a trial by jury. Okay, however, you are waiving or giving up your right to have a trial by jury. In essence, you don't want to have a trial by jury, you just want your case to come before the court. Is that correct?
Yes.
It also states in this document that you have a right to have witnesses to come to court to testify for you against you. However, you also realize that you have a right to waive or give up that right to have witnesses to come to court. And that's what you're doing. You're waiving or giving up that right to have witnesses to come to court. Is that correct? You also, in this document, states that you have a right to have discovery, which means you have a right to see the evidence that the state has against you. However, you put your initials on this line saying that you are waiving, you are not requesting discovery, and you are waiving your right to discovery. Is that correct? Okay, so that's what's in this document. So is it all right for the state to use this document as evidence in your case?
No.
Okay, so we can't go forward on this here plea. Just have a seat. And we get to the next gentleman. Okay. Jerron Martindale, did you come forward?
Are we gonna delete?
Just hold on. Don't do anything. Oops. Okay. We're on the record in calls number 330050. Case of Styles, this must be 330050-2. Yes. The case is styled the state of Texas versus Jerron Eugene Martindale. Mr. Martindale, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Martindale, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth to help you God? Mr. Martindale, you may put your hand down. How you doing, Mr. Martindale? That's good. Mr. Martindale, are you waiving a record in this case? Are you waiving a record in this case? Okay, what I mean by that is, do you know what a record is?
You said a record?
A record. Do you want a court reporter to type everything in the case?
Yeah,
Or do you don't
Okay.
want a court reporter?
they can.
Okay, so we won't be able to do this. Just have a seat.
You said like a court reporter,
Right,
like the one that type on the side, right?
right.
Nuh-uh.
Okay, so you're waiving a record.
Yeah.
All right, so Mr. Martindale, I have before me a information that alleges that on or about May 29th of 2021, while you're in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of theft. Mr. Martindale, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, Mr. Martindale, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, no contest.
Guilty.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading guilty because you're actually guilty?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Martindale, I also have before me a document that is titled the misdemeanor plea admonishment. It is also labeled as State's Exhibit Number 1. Mr. Martindale, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Martindale, on page 2 of the same document, are these your initials? The first set of initials is on a line that's titled guilty. Are these your initials down here? Right here on this document. Can you see that?
JM.
That's your initials?
I'm looking for JM. It says JM.
Hold on a minute. Oops. Thing is acting up now. Oh, computer, laptop got stuck. Okay, let's try this. Okay. Okay. Okay, Mr. Martindale, let me do this again. Now, Mr. Martindale, I have before me a document that is titled the misdemeanor plea admonishment, also labeled as State's Exhibit Number 1. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 2 of the same document, Mr. Martindale, are these your initials?
Yes, sir.
One is on a line next to the box for guilty. The other set of initials is on a line under the discovery admonishment, which states, I do not request discovery of evidence, and I waive my right to request discovery in this case and choose to enter a plea of guilty or no contest. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And on page 3 of this same document, Mr. Martindale, are these your initials above the line that's titled
Yes,
guilty,
sir.
that's titled defendant?
Yes, sir.
And on the next document, which is the trial, which is the trial court certification of defendant's right of appeal. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
Is that your signature above the line that's titled defendant?
Yes, sir.
There are 2 boxes that are checked at the top of this document. The first box states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Mhm.
The second box states that you're waiving, which means you're giving up your right to appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Miss,
Yes, sir.
could you turn that camera around to him? It doesn't have to be on me. I have one on me. That's fine. Okay, now, Mr. Martindale, the first set of initials, now, Mr. Martindale, you recognize the second document, trial court certification defense right of appeal?
Yes, sir.
That's your signature on this document?
Yes, sir.
The top of this document, there are 2 boxes that's checked. The first box states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
The second box states that you're waiving, which means you're giving up your right to appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Martindale, prior to signing and initialing these documents that I've just mentioned, did you have an opportunity to read the documents?
Yes, sir.
And did you read the documents?
Yes, sir.
And did you understand what you read?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit Number 1. State, you like to offer State's Exhibit Number 1?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Martindale, the state is offering State's Exhibit Number 1 to be used as evidence against you in your case. Now, State's Exhibit Number 1 is the document that's titled the misdemeanor plea admonishment. The document on page 2 that have your initials on page 2
Yes, sir.
and your signature at the top on page 3. The state would like to use this document as evidence in your case. Is it all right for the state to use this document as evidence in your case?
Yes, sir.
Okay, no objections. State's Exhibit Number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Martindale, is there any evidence that you're currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
You said which one?
Is there any evidence that you are mentally incompetent to stand trial? None, okay. Mr. Martindale, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. And I will also find that your plea of guilty and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. Mr. Martindale, excuse me, state, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
What is that agreement?
1 year deferred adjudication, $300 fine,
Okay,
and 20 hours community service.
20 hours. Community service, all right. Do we have a judges, you just, what is that, we don't have an affidavit. That's fine, then you just, magistrate's warning, neither one? Okay. Mr. Martindale,
Yes, sir.
the state is offering that you serve 1 year deferred adjudicated probation. During the 1 year probationary period, you'll be required to pay a fine of $300 plus court costs of $292. Your total fine and court costs will be $592. You will also be required to pay a probation fee of $60 each month and a year analysis fee of $15 each month. Now, the total monthly installments, that is the total amount that you would have to pay each month, is $130.
Each month,
Yes, will you be able to pay the $130?
each month, yes, sir.
All right. Now, you will also be required to perform 20 hours of community service. And you will be required to adhere to the other standard terms and conditions of your probation. Mr. Martindale, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
And do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
Do you accept the state's offer?
I accept.
Okay, Mr. Martindale, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Martindale, if you successfully complete your probationary period, this case will be dismissed. It would not appear on your record as a conviction, and you may qualify for a non-disclosure. And you can talk to an attorney about applying for a non-disclosure. Do you understand? Okay, now, Mr. Martindale, you're gonna stand on the X that's near you, and you're gonna follow the directions of our clerk. And once you finish following her directions, you'll be free to go, and you have a blessed day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, stand on the X. Oh, let me do this here before, let me get back on the record.
You got the-
Yeah, stand back up there. Now, Mr. Martindale, I forgot, I also have a document that is titled Judge's Explanation of Rights to Defendants Without an Attorney. Mr. Martindale, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature at the bottom of this document?
Yes, sir.
And are these your initials on this document? And your initials is on a line that says, I waive my right to an attorney. And you say, I want to waive my right to an attorney and represent myself. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And also, I have a document that is titled Waiver of Counsel for Purposes of Entering a Guilty Plea.
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize this document? And is this your signature above the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes, sir.
Prior to signing and initialing these documents, did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Okay? You may stand over there on the X.
So we already got your assumptions and signatures, so just raise your right hand for me. You swear that you've never before been placed on deferred adjudication or regular probation for a felony or misdemeanor, offense, or any other state.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? And you have no other pending charges that you're aware of.
No, ma'am.
All right, so you're just gonna report to this address that's on this front page as soon as you leave here.
Somebody, I don't see his name.
That's all I needed.
Yes, yeah. Where is,
No, you don't.
That's one done, thank you. Yeah, well,
You too.
oh, here we go. Stedman Jones. This is cause number 325044. Your name is Stedman Deshaun Jones.
Yes,
Mr. Jones, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Jones, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
yes, sir.
Okay, you may put your hand down, Mr. Jones. How you doing, Mr. Jones?
All right.
Yeah.
Myself.
I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jones, I have before me, well, first of all, Mr. Jones, do you waive a record in this case?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Jones, I have before me a document that is, well, a document that is titled information. In this information, it alleges that on or about August 9th of 2019, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of interfering with public duties. Mr. Jones, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes.
And to this charge, Mr. Jones, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Guilty.
Guilty. Now, Mr. Jones, are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
And are you pleading guilty because you're guilty?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Jones, I have before me another document, and this document is titled The Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. Mr. Jones, do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Okay, now, Mr. Jones, on page 2 of the same document, there are 2 sets of initials. Hold on. And the second, there are 2 sets of initials. The first set of initials is on a line that's next to a box that's checked guilty. Did you place your initials on this document?
Yes.
And the second set of initials is below a paragraph that is titled Discovery Admonishment, and it is on a line that states, you say you're requesting discovery?
Evidence?
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Can you provide him with some? Hold on a minute, just have a seat. I think you could,